Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I am doing an acrylic set design for you guys today. This is on my right hand, done with my left, because usually if I can do it with my left hand, I can do it with my right hand. So first I am just going in with a white buffing block just to make sure that the shine is removed from my nails. If your nail is shiny, the acrylic doesn't want to stick to it, and so that causes lifting. Of course, there are a lot of other factors that go into it, but this is just the first step to prevent that. Next, I'm going to dust off all the dust, and then I'm going to start sizing my tips. These are pre-pinched tips from Glitter Planet UK. You can order from them even though you are in the US. Shipping is pretty reasonable and the prices on this stuff is amazing. So usually I try to go for something that isn't too big because it gets uncomfortable and starts to dig into the side of your fingers. I don't go for something smaller either because then it can pop off really easily. So I try to go for something that's pretty nice in the middle there, fits really nice. If something is too big for my fingers, I will file the sides down until I can get the right size. Sometimes people's fingernails aren't the exact size that the pre-sized tips are, so that's something you can do to alter them. I am going to go in with my Kiss brush on glue. I did get some from Sally's Beauty Supply a while back and it just would not stick the tips onto my fingernail. So I got rid of that and I just got this at Walmart. So it was pretty simple. You can see here that I'm going to go in with the thumb size extension and just file those sides down because I feel that it was just too big for my thumb and it was going to be uncomfortable and the pointy sides were going to dig into the sides of my nail and I wasn't going to like that. So I tried to fit it there and it was still too big, so I went in and tried a smaller size and it actually ended up being better, so I was just going to use that one. So now I'm going to go in with my glue here, for real this time, and put the glue on just to the end there, not too high up, and then I'm gonna press on the top and just go downward, and then that is gonna just take out all the air bubbles, and then I'm gonna let go of that and press on the sides to get those little pointy ends down. You can file over these too if you find that they're sticking up too much as well. So then I am just going to go through and do that with the rest of my nails here. Also, this is my first video and I am doing this on my cell phone, so I am going to go in and out of the camera a lot. If you find that I skip a lot of something like filing or putting a top coat on, it is just because I did go out of camera or my hair got in the way, so I am still working on this. I did learn a lot through this process, so hopefully the next video will be better for you guys. Now I am just cutting the tips to the length that I'd like them to be. I do go in and out of frame a lot on this part, and that is only because I wanted to make sure that the length matched the other hand like this, and I also wanted them to match each other. So that's the only reason why I am going in and out of frame. You can cut them and then file them down to your desired length. That's also an easier way to do it. Some people like to do that just to get a little more accuracy, and you can always go back in and cut a little bit more off if you need to, as long as you do it before the acrylic. So then I will go in and file the tops of the nail extensions and the sides just to make sure that those pointy tips aren't sticking out so they can catch on things. And then I'm also going to go over the top like this just to mattify that nail tip so you can see it a little better. And I'm also going to blend in the seam where the nail extension meets the nail bed. Just make it really nice and smooth and not very noticeable there. Also, I am not focusing on the natural nail bed. I'm more trying to focus on the nail tip itself because you really want to blend that seam in, but you don't want to file that aggressively on the natural nail because it can create a really thin nail bed for your client or yourself, and that can get really uncomfortable. So just be careful when you're doing this that you're not focusing on your nail bed and more the nail tip. Then we're going to go in with the dehydrator here, and this is just going to help get rid of all the dust that we didn't get off ourselves, and it helps with the adhesion of the acrylic and with the nail prepping to prevent any lifting, of course. And this is i.b.d.i Nail Couture Max Estrada's collection. I am also going to be using his acrylic powder in Eternal Beige. You don't need a professional license to get any of the products that I'm using on my channel because I am not a licensed professional, so I can't get my hands on most of that stuff. But I'm also going to be using his acrylic monomer here. It is the acrylic system, and the monomer smells actually like cotton candy, and the powder smells like cherries. I also use a brush that I got off of his website, which is the size 10 oval, I believe. I'll have to double check on that, but this is also the primer that we're going to be using, and I did flip the napkin over because I didn't want to get any of the dust in my acrylic brush or the powder or the monomer. So then we're going to be applying the primer onto the pinky nail here, and we're going to be using this Eternal Beige as the nail bed color for the French design that we're going to be doing on the pinky and the pointer finger. So I'm going to grab some liquid and then go into my powder, pick up a bead here, and just put that on the seam where that nail extension meets that nail bed. Then I'm gonna go around the nail here and make sure that the cuticle is really flush to the natural nail, that those sidewalls aren't flooding over, and I also like to tip my nail down so that I make sure that there is no flooding. And then also, if the bead is a little wet, it will run down the way I want it to be on my nail. I also am using the reverse French technique, so I am making sure that the smile line is going to be nice and clean, and the corners are going to be really nice and just cut really good, and you just really have to work at this. The more practice you have, the better you will get. I tip my nail upside down like that because if the bead is a little more wet, it will run to wherever the nail is tipping, so I kind of wanted to get that apex in there, or that natural arch for the nail as well. So I just keep working at this, keep trying to get that smile line right, and the pinky actually went pretty well for me. So now I'm going to move on to the pointer finger and put primer on that nail. I do this separately because I want the primer to be nice and fresh, and that way it'll help the adhesion of the acrylic. So I'm going to take my bead for my pointer finger and just place it again on that seam where the nail extension meets the nail bed. I'm going to go around my sides and tip my finger down to make sure that there's no flooding and that the cuticle is really nice and flush to my natural nail. Again, that is very important. I have learned that. I've been doing these for 2 years now, and that is the saving grace, I promise. So I'm just really going to work at the smile line and get those corners right. I do add a few different beads here, and you don't have to do everything in one bead. I promise you, I am not that good yet. So you can add as many beads as you like, and just try not to get them so thick that it's going to take you forever to file. I know that that is a problem of mine sometimes. There is always filing, yes, but you want to make sure that your application is really nice. It'll take your time down a lot, and it'll take your filing time down a lot too. So just really work at that smile line there. That is the most important part right now. When we do the French color on the top, the smile line is going to be the best part for you. I promise you'll see what I'm talking about. It's more easier to explain as it's happening, so we'll get to that then. Next, I'm going to go in with this white powder from Sally's Beauty Supply. It's called Beauty Secrets. It's just a plain white powder, and we're gonna put that on our ring finger. It's gonna be a pure white nail, so we're just gonna work on that there. And this is gonna be a little bit of a different application just because this is going over the whole nail and not just as a French design. So if I go in and out of frame here a little bit, I am sorry. I do get the fingers really close to my face so I can make sure I'm not missing any gaps or anything. This powder is also a little difficult to work with, I find. When you put it on your nail, it looks dry, but then once you start working it in, it's actually really wet. So it's kind of confusing, but you get the hang of it after a little bit. So next, we are just going to clean our brush out to make sure that there's no acrylic stuck in there. Once we do that, we're gonna put the lid on our monomer here and move that to the side, and then also hide our brush because we are going to start filing where we put the smile line or the natural nail bed color on our fingers. And I do have to hold my pinky a little bit wonky. You could see there for a split second. I did cut the rest of that out because my head was in the way. So all I did was file by the cuticle, my sidewalls, and then over the top just to make sure it was really smooth. Now I'm going to go in with the colors, and these I mixed myself. I have pigments, and then I just mixed them with some clear acrylic. So I'm going to go in here with this red, and as you can see, I just put it on that tip there where there is no acrylic or color or anything, and you just want to get that right up to that smile line. Same thickness. Of course, you don't want your the end of your nails, the tips, to be too thick, but because you do need that arch in there, so just try to create a really nice arch. And I really should have done a side view of this for you guys, but like I said, I'm using my cell phone for this, so it's a little difficult right now. But you just do the same exact thing on the pointer finger with the blue. Just get it right up to that smile line. If it goes over the smile line, don't worry, because when we file this down, whatever is on the smile line as far as color goes, it's going to disappear, and you'll see that. And so that is why the filing is really important, and that smile line is so important to the design, like I was saying earlier, because when we file that down, whatever color is on the natural nail bed, eternal beige, then it's going to be filed away. So it's really cool once you see it happening, and I hope I explained that okay. If not, then I will try my best next time. I do a lot of French designs, so this won't be the last. Next, I am just going to file the white nail. I am going to file the side walls, make sure that they look really nice and even, that they're not coming out all weird and bumpy and all sorts of different shapes. So once I finish that, I am going to go back in with my monomer and get all those air bubbles out of that brush again, of course. And we're gonna go in with the colors, and we're gonna start on the middle nail doing that design I just showed right now. It's kind of a harder one to do, so it's gonna take a little bit, but you can see here I just place it right at the base of the cuticle, and this is a little more difficult because you do want to get it really flush next to the cuticle, but as you're building this design out, it needs to be a little thicker for the structure. So I am going to clear cap this just to ensure that there is going to be structure, but don't flood the cuticle area. Just like everything else, make sure that it's nice and smooth and that the lines are going to be straight, and you can see how hard I really work at this. The blue pigment does kind of get everywhere, but don't worry, once we're finished, you can wipe that off of your skin and it's gonna look really, really nice. And once we start putting the other colors on, again, this line that you're creating is gonna be crucial to the design, because once we start putting more colors against it, the filing is really gonna put everything together. So again, I'm just working real hard at this, adding more color as I need to, and just finishing up this design. Now I'm just going in and filing my pinky nail here. I am going to file these side walls and make sure that everything is nice and even on both sides. And then I'm going to go over the top and really focus on that color French that we have now. When you apply that color, like I said, right up to that smile line, anything that goes over onto that nail bed is going to be filed away, and you can see just how nice and crisp that filing really makes this design. It just ties everything together and makes everything look so sharp. That is also why you want to make sure that you get the color into those corners and you really work those in, because it's really going to be crucial to the end of the design. So then I'm going to do the same exact thing on my pointer finger, and the pointer finger didn't really give me any trouble. Neither did the pinky. I did really well on these applications, which I was really impressed with. I've been practicing this for a while now. I learned it from Susie with Nail Career Education here on YouTube. You guys might watch her too. If you don't, then you should. She really has really informative videos, and she really helped me out with this technique. And once you practice it more and get better, it's really something that helps you out, and it is an easier way to do a French for sure. So once I finish those up and make them look really nice and tight and even, you can see here that there were a couple shiny spots, and I just want to go over and make sure that those are matte and filed over, because those are just some uneven spots. So then now that I'm finished, we are actually going to go in and mix a little bit more colors here, because I don't have enough red, let alone enough blue to keep going, and we still have the red on the middle finger and the blue and red on the thumb to do. So you'll be able to see how I mixed these colors here. And what we're gonna do is just scoop some of these pigments. They're not pre-mixed acrylic pigments. You can get some that are pre-mixed, so these ones didn't come pre-mixed. So I have to add clear into them myself. So I'm just gonna put the colors into their little spots, and you really probably should use different pans, but I didn't have any at the time. So I just had this one. So I just used the same one, and it really wasn't that big of a deal to me. I know that if you're working on other clients, you're not gonna wanna use the same pan that you used on somebody else. Of course, just for sanitary reasons, but here, I just thought it was okay since it was on myself. So once I get the color that I want in there, the amount of color, I'm gonna come in with my clear, and the clear is really gonna help with the, well, making it an acrylic powder, of course, but it's also gonna help with the opacity. If you want it to be more of a sheer coverage, then you're gonna do a little bit different ratios for yourself, like less color and more clear. Of course, that's all up to you and how you want to do your design and what colors you're using, of course. Of course, I want mine to be pretty opaque, so I'm just going to make kind of an even mix here. And I also memorized what I did before when I mixed them the first time, so that's kind of what I went off this time. So again, I'm just going to mix those together, and you'll be able to see here just how opaque they are. And you can also mess around with them with the liquid and create some beads and just lay them on your napkin or paper towel or whatever you have around you to be able to check that opacity too. But again, I kind of knew what I was doing with this one, so it wasn't a necessity for me to do that. Now we are going to go in with this red, and you'll be able to see just how easy it is to put these colors. Once you have that blue down, or whatever color you're going to use for this design, once you have that color down, it's really a lot easier to put the rest of these colors on. If you get any red over the blue, again, it doesn't matter, because we're going to file over this and make sure that those lines look really nice and even and crisp, just like the smile lines. So if you do get any red over the blue, it doesn't really matter. The red pigment kind of does get everywhere, just kind of like the blue, but it's not a big deal because the powder will wipe off of your skin. So now we're just gonna go in with the burnishing technique, is what it's called. I actually found that the yellow stopper works a lot better, because if you wait 15 to 20 seconds, it gets pretty tacky, and you can use an eyeshadow applicator to put on glitters or flakes or anything like that, and they'll lay flat and really show off their hollow properties or their iridescence and stuff like that. I did see this on Simply Nail Logical. She went through a ton of different ways and found that the yellow stopper worked best, and I just kind of in my mind was like, duh, of course that's gonna work better. It gets tacky after a little while, so it does dry down completely, so you don't have to worry about curing it or anything. I did just get it at Sally's Beauty Supply, so pretty sure you can pick it up or you can order it online or something depending on where you are. So now I'm just taking the flakes onto the eyeshadow applicator and I'm just sticking them on that yellow stopper and then kind of rubbing them in so that they lay all flat, and you can kind of see them a little bit there. I know it's a little tough. You'll be able to see them once the design is done, but it's just a really easy way to get those flakes and glitters on there. And if you want to learn about that more in depth, you should check out Simply Nailogical's profile channel on here. She has a lot of really good and funny videos, so she's another good one to watch. Now we're going to start with the thumb, which is the marbling technique, and I just went in with an old brush that I have from Max Estrada. I've had this for probably over a year now, so the ends are all frayed out, and it's just not a really great brush, but I just thought that I would use it to start this design off, since it'll kind of help in mixing those colors around and swirling them around and everything. There is really no rhyme or reason to this technique, I feel, so you just kind of place the beads wherever you want because you're gonna end up moving them around anyways. I'm sure that there is a more professional way to get this done, and I should probably watch a video on it, but this was just kind of my first initial thought on how to do this. So this is kind of just how I did this part. There are a lot more cleaner looking marble designs out there, but like I said, this was just something that I thought would work for the time being, and I think it came out really nice. So you'll be able to see me swirl around and move around those colors. I am gonna add a few more beads of color around just to fill in those gaps and spots that I didn't cover because the acrylic does dry. Oh, there I go. I made a mess. But anyways, I do go in with more colors because the acrylic does dry. It's kind of you against time here. So when you're kind of swirling them around and don't really have an application technique, it does make it a little more difficult to get them to spread out. So adding more beads of color here and there is really going to help you out. So there's that finished one, and now I'm checking to see if the middle finger is good to go and file. So I'm doing that, and the application was really good on this again. So I just make sure that that line is really nice and crisp on that red, and then that if there was any red over the blue, that was filed off. So now I am going to go in and add the white to that nail, and this is barely going to take any time. We have those other colors down. You just got to make sure that you get it on the nail, more or less. Put it right up to that red, and of course if there's any white that laps over onto the red, don't worry because it can be filed away in your filing. Okay, now I am going in and filing my thumb. I'm doing the side walls. You can see there I didn't do that for very long because I did see that there was a spot on my cuticle that needed to be filed down. I forgot to mention that you do want to make sure that your application in your cuticle area is still really flush to the natural nail because that is so important in preventing lifting. Now I'm just going over everything and making sure that there's no bumps or unevenness or thickness on one side that there isn't on the other. And through doing that, I found that a lot of the colors, I filed down, the next one shows through. And once I started thinking about it, it's kind of like the French technique. If there's like a blue on top of a red and you file enough, the blue is going to be filed off and that red is going to show through. So once I started filing a little bit more, the color started showing through a lot better, and I started to like this nail a little more than I did initially. So I'm just going to keep going over this until I'm happy with it. And once I am, I'm gonna dust that powder off of there, or that dust off of there, and look and make sure that that's okay. And I did see a little bit more bumps that needed to be accounted for, so I did file those off. And then of course we're going to add clear now here to this nail because we do want some structure in this. I did do a pretty thin application, and there really wasn't a great application technique to that, so I just want to make sure that there's structure in this. And I did wait for a second for the powder to be soaked up into that acrylic liquid because I didn't want any cloudiness or dryness looking under the nail. If you've done that before, you might know what I'm talking about, but it's like little cloudiness underneath, and once it dries you can't get rid of it. So I really wanted to prevent that, and I wanted to make sure that the beads were completely soaked up before I started applying them onto the thumbnail. And I'm not good at one bead applications like I said before, so I do add a few different ones here. You just really want to make sure that they're even together. And now I'm going to go in and start filing that middle finger, that white. We already have the red and the blue filed, so we're just going to make sure that the sidewalls are all even with each other, and then we're going to go over and really focus on the white part of the nail now, because if we do have any white overlapping that red, we want that gone so that that line looks really nice and crisp up against that nail. So I'm going to go ahead and file this until I am happy with it, and I will be right back. And now it is the final acrylic application of this set. So we are going to go in with some clear, and this is for the middle finger. Like I said, when we were designing that, I didn't feel like there was going to be enough structure or strength for the nail, so we're just going to put some clear over that to make sure that that is there for that nail, because we don't want it breaking off or snapping off, just like with the thumb. So I do go in here with a few different beads, and I do go out of frame on this again, so it's kind of cut short. But here I am going in with some more of the yellow stopper for my second coat of this burnishing technique, and I'm just going to paint that right on top of those flakes that I did before. I didn't put anything over the top of those. This is going right over top of that. So that is completely dried down now, and we're just adding this yellow stopper back on top of that. We're going to wait about 20 seconds. Then I'm going to take those flakes and just rub them right on top of that yellow stopper again onto that tacky surface. And then once we're finished with that, we are going to let those dry. Now I am just filing over that clear capping that we did on the thumb before. It was all dry and ready to be filed. So I'm just going over the cuticle area and just making sure that the cuticle is nice and flush with the nail there. And then I am also going over the top with my other file and making sure that it's all nice and even, that there are no bumps or any thickness in one spot that there isn't in another. So you just want to really make sure that it's nice and smooth, because this is one of the final steps before putting the top coat on, and we really want that to look really nice. So then next we're going to go in with a buffing file from i.b.d.i Nail Couture. It's called the Smoothie file. It's really nice, and you just want to make sure that there's no scratches on there that can show through the top coat, because I know that sometimes that happens. Now I'm going through with the top coat. I don't know why I said going through. I'm going over the nails with my top coat from i.b.d.i, I believe. I might be getting those letters mixed around, but it is just a no wipe gel top coat that I'm going to be curing in my lamp. And I did get that at my local Sally's store, so you should be able to get that or order it online. Of course, depending on where you are, you might have other stores that you can get beauty supplies at too. I just am only limited to one. So wherever you can find, and you don't have to put a gel top coat, it can be just a regular polished top coat too. So you can really see when I'm doing this how that top coat really brings our design to life and really shows off those features of that smile line, of how nice and tight that pigment is up against that nail bed, and really just how good it looks. This is my absolute favorite part of the entire design, is that top coat. So now that I put it in my lamp for the 30 seconds, I'm going to take it out here and just start filing that middle finger. I'm going to go over the sidewalls and the top and the cuticle again. This is the clear capping, and we just want to make sure again that everything is really nice and smooth for the rhinestone application and for the top coat application. So I am just going to go over this with that buffing file again from i.b.d.i Nail Couture and make sure that it's all nice and smooth, dust away that dust, and we are going to go in with Max Estrada's Gummy Jelly. This is a gel and I love it so much. You put this on your nails and put your rhinestones on it and then cure it, those rhinestones aren't going to go anywhere. Any jewels for that matter aren't going to go anywhere. So I really love it for that reason. So we're just gonna put this right along that line where the blue and the red meet. This line does not have to be perfect. You're just putting your jewels on top of it. And we are putting a top coat on it also, so it doesn't have to be a perfect line. Your jewels are gonna have to be the part that's perfect. So you're just gonna wanna put this over again where that blue and that red meet. And then I do wipe off my excess here. I go back into that gel just barely, and that way I can get some of those rhinestones picked up on the end of that dotting tool and just place them right on top of that gel. When you put them on that gel, they're gonna stick to it. So you don't have to worry about it sticking to the end of your dotting tool or anything. So I'm just gonna go through and put these all in a line and make sure they're all nice and perfect in their lines. And then we're gonna go through and we're gonna cure those I cured them for about 2 minutes just to ensure that they were gonna stay there. Alrighty, now that those are out, you can see when I press on them like that, they are stuck. They are stuck until you take those off. So now I am just gonna put the top coat on around those. I'm not gonna put it on top of the rhinestones just because those are already shiny and I don't really have a need to put them on there. I also am capping my end here, and then I'm just gonna go behind those rhinestones as well and put that top coat there too. Have that in my lamp for 30 seconds, forgot to say. Also the thumb for 30 seconds. And once I'm finished with that, I am going to take it out and put cuticle oil on every single finger, even the ones on my left hand. And then once we're finished with that, you're gonna be able to see the final design. And I did do this to match a costume that I have going for a Halloween event. So it's not because I'm patriotic, but it is because of a Halloween costume. So here is the final look, and I really love how it all came together. I'm so happy that you guys were here to watch this and watch me in my first attempt on this. So I can't wait for the next ones to come. Subscribe to my channel and we will see you guys later. Bye!